énormément plaisir maintenant de vous présenter, de représenter Adam Kahane, and it's my pleasure to invite you to present a warm hand of applause and welcome again to Adam Kahane.
Thanks, Dan. So I'm not going to give another talk this morning, much as I enjoyed last night. I'm going to facilitate a little check-in process, just a chance for some open reflection and to see where we are. Just to give a few minutes intro and then, see where you are. What you're doing here is embarking on a learning journey over the next year to try to understand better some of the complex problems that Canada and the public service are facing, and also to understand better how we can resolve them. And when I think about learning, the main impediment I see, the main impediment to learning of people like us is knowing. So if you know everything already, then it's very hard to learn anything new. This is really the problem of the expert in the world. The expert imagines that he or she is going around with this spotlight on their head, looking at the world, but it's actually not a spotlight, it's a slide projector. So they're really seeing in front of them only what is already in their head, which makes it difficult to see what's really going on. So what I thought would be useful to do this morning is to introduce two very basic foundational competencies which are antidotes to that kind of expert projecting. So I'm going to just mention these very briefly. I think they'll stand you in good stead today and over the next year. I think if you can get these two things down, you'll be in good shape, and if you can't, you won't learn anything at all. So the first competency is suspending. I love this image of suspending. It's as though we take our ideas and we hang them on a thread in front of us where we can see them. And it doesn't mean we reject them, doesn't mean we throw them away, but we become aware that we have this assumption or this mental model in our head, and it might be right, it might not be, but we hang it on a thread where we can see it and where other people can see it, where we can look at it from different directions, where people can attack the idea without attacking us. So this is really the first thing. What it means is, another way to put it is, it means suspending judgment. Doesn't mean you don't make judgments. You need to make judgments to do your work, but you don't have to make judgments all the time. I had a mentor who was once coaching me on job interviewing, on interviewing staff, and he said, Adam, of course you have to make a judgment. That's the whole point of an interview. But you don't have to make a judgment after every sentence. And I think a lot of us go through the day trying to decide at every moment, I like this, I don't like this, I agree with this, I don't agree with this. And suspending just means putting that aside for a little bit and just seeing what's there. The second competency that I think will be useful to you today and this year and beyond is simply the competency of inquiring, of asking questions, of being willing to hold a question for a long time without demanding an answer. I've worked a lot with a wonderful man named Brian Arthur at the Santa Fe Institute for Complexity Science. He's really a great mathematician, a great economist, a great scientist, and he said that the key is to camp out beside the problem, to be willing to have a question and just sit with it and let the answer come to you. Okay, so the idea of this morning check-in, the next 45 minutes or so is just to do some suspending and some inquiring. We're going to be asking questions without answering them. There may be questions that need answers, but you're not going to get them within the next 45 minutes. The idea of a check-in, which I use a lot in the work I do, is simply to see what's here. Simply to see what's here without debating it or deciding about it. Okay, the reason I love two-day meetings is because there's a chance to sleep on things, chance to retreat from the problematic situation and just see what arises. So the subject of the check-in this morning is really just what questions are coming up for you. Not questions for me or questions for the organizers, but questions you're asking yourself this morning. And, you may found that you woke up in the middle of the night, just this question. You may find that when you awoke this morning, you had a question in your mind. It's a very interesting discipline to stay in bed for a few minutes and just notice what's come to you when you wake up in the morning. Often we get insights in the shower. My colleague Otto Scharmer says that the reason a shower is such a good place for learning is it's one of the few places that you don't have a newspaper or a cell phone, and usually you're alone, and there's this warm water and this rhythmic pulsing. It's not an accident that we so often things come to us in the shower. So what I'm wondering about is the questions you're asking yourself this morning, maybe even the faint questions that are just on the edge of your consciousness, the curiosities you have, the wonderings you have, might be about what's going on in the world, might be about what's going on in the government, might be about what's going on in this project. It might be about yourself in all of this. So, the check-in question is the following. What questions am I asking myself this morning? What questions am I asking myself this morning? What I'd like to do is take 5 minutes in silence. I know it's really weird in a meeting to actually have 5 minutes where nobody's talking, but let's give it a try. 5 minutes in silence, and then we'll do some sharing. You don't have to share what you don't want to share, but just 5 minutes in silence. Maybe you want to take out a piece of paper, do some journaling. What questions am I asking myself this morning? 5 minutes. Going to continue in the same mode. Going to continue in the same mode of just hearing the questions, but now around the table. So we're going to take about 15 minutes and a chance to go around the table and hear from each person, a couple of minutes each. Now, it turns out, again, that the trick to this exercise has to do with the quality of the listening. I have a friend named Betty Sue Flowers, who's a poet, and she said, people don't understand that there's more than one kind of listening, just as they don't understand there's more than one kind of woman. We're not used to making distinctions in the yin function. We're not used to making distinctions in the receptive function. So there's more than one way of listening. So one way of listening is that actually you're not listening at all, you're just rehearsing for when it comes to your turn. Another kind of listening is I'm listening, but I'm trying to decide whether I agree with it or not. A third kind of listening is I'm listening to try to understand where this person's coming from. Why is it that these are the questions they're asking themselves? And the fourth kind of listening is I'm listening for what's, in a way, growing out of the center of the table. What's behind all of this? What can I see of the whole through these parts? So take 15 minutes, give everybody a chance, it's a couple of minutes each, and see if you can listen to what's growing out of the center of the table.